Hello down there, gamers. It's actually funny because I brought this up not too long ago in another video. I was like making an example of Xenoblade Chronicles being like $80. So I just happened to see this. Our game's overpriced. I'm like, wow, I was just thinking this. So I'm actually kind of curious what their thoughts is. Let's jump in.
So there's a couple of things that are really interesting about this. Back in the day, a Super Nintendo game was
Back in my day.
$69.95. That's how much Secret of Mana cost when it first came out. Let's go pull this up.
Dang, that was
Inflation
expensive.
Calculator. And what year did Secret of Mana launch? August 6, 1993. And we're going to go from August 1993, and we'll go to April of 2024. And we're going to say $69.95. If you were to buy that Super Nintendo game today, in today's currency, it'd be $151.47.
Sheesh,
That would be the
really?
cost. Dramatically higher, right?
My
But the reason
goodness.
they were so expensive back then is because of physical distribution. That's the reason. We don't have that anymore. You don't have to make a cartridge. You don't have to put it on a store shelf. You don't have to physically ship it. You don't have to do any of that. We have digital distribution. It costs nothing. I have sold tens of thousands of copies of Heartbound, and it has cost us nothing. So when we're looking at this versus that, it doesn't make sense. You
Yeah.
can't even make a comparison there. Steam still takes
Oh.
30%? No, they don't. When I make a Steam key, and that key is for a $10 game, and then I sell that on Humble Bundle, what is the percentage that Steam takes from me? 0%. Steam only takes 30% of the sales you have on the Steam platform. Only on the Steam platform. Further than that, if you have trading cards for your game, which you always do, you make those yourself. Very easy. Whenever one of those...
Yeah, so that does make me curious. Why would it cost more then? Why would it cost more when it's less work to distribute them? Honestly, it'd probably be because there's more content, right? But then again, it's the same game as before, so it'd be inflation. So I'm confused. Is it just the same thing as like gas prices and whatnot? But gas prices is more of a physical item, and there's only so much of that, and that's limited. But whereas like whatever the game he said it was, like something of mana, Trials of Mana, I don't remember. I didn't play that game, but yeah, you can basically make unlimited copies. I'm so confused. I mean, if it's live service, a live service game that has like a live service to it makes more sense because you kind of need a way to keep the game running. But if it's like a single player game, I'm so confused.
sells between one player and another, there's a community market fee. Steam gives the developer the community market fee. That ain't 30%. That's a lot less than 30%. Depending on how you strategize your sales, it's dramatically less than 30%. And Steam does not charge you for the distribution of your patches or the game itself outside of that 30% cut. Isn't that literally pennies, though? No. No. Very funny. So the way that I look at this right now is this doesn't make sense. We live in a time of digital distribution, and the way that I see sales of games is like this. If it's $1, people see it as shovelware. If it's $3, they see it as an arcade game. $5 is a premium arcade game. $10 is an indie game. $20 is a premium indie game. Anything anywhere from 10 to 20 is a premium indie game. $40 is a day game. $60 is AAA. And anything 70 or above is a scam. That's the general way that people feel about games that I've seen so far.
Although I will say, a game like Xenoblade, I believe when it came out, it was like what, $80 ish on the Wii. I think. I didn't think it was a scam. That game is huge. The content in that game was insane. It's like so big, I couldn't even finish it. That's how big that game was. So games like that, or like Baten Kaitos on the GameCube, like those games, I understand their price because there's more content. I mean, Baten Kaitos had like 2 or 3 discs inside of it. Like, are you kidding me? Of course the price is going to be more for those. But like, it doesn't make it a bad game to me if the price is higher. Or I don't see it as a scam, I should say. I see it as a scam if the content and the worth inside of it, like the density of that's inside, isn't worth it. Like, ooh, pretty graphics. Like, let's say a game has great graphics, and that's what makes the game expensive. That's a scam because graphics can only go so far, and then you get very bored of it. There's no repetitive play to it besides of you want to look at it again, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's just my personal preference, but to me, I would put that under scam category. If it was like, let's say Tetris was $20 instead of like $10, the difference there, the games are the same, then I would think the one that's overpriced is a scam because there's nothing different. But if they added like a couple new modes to it, to the same Tetris, then I'd be like, oh, all right, it's not a scam. Just minor details like that is what changes it for me.
Like, this is the limit. Anything above that, and people hate you. Whether they feel it's
People
worth it or
hate
not.
you.
The problem is this. The ones saying this,
Nintendo.
unfortunately, don't matter. As awful as that is, because there's multitudes of people that are just buying the games anyway. An insane number of people that don't take any part in online discourse, don't take any part in talking about $70 game, don't
It's
take
so
any
true.
part in any of this, and just buy the $100+ copies every time. You will find very quickly that the double down versions of games, instead of the $70 version, the $110 version, you'll find that these ones sell more than these ones almost every time. And if it is a $70 game, it'll likely have MTX in it that will end up making it sell more than this every time. The reason that the business model works this way is because people spend money on it. This is normal business for the games industry.
Yeah.
And I reject the shit out of it. Why do you think our game is $10 and it won't have a sequel and it won't have a prequel and it won't have chapters and it won't have DLC and it won't have microtransactions? That's why it's $10, because I hate this business model. I hate it. I think it's and I don't want
good
to
on you, Pirate.
perpetuate it, even if it would make me more money, because it's not good for the industry. So
You
I
have
can't
great ideals.
convince people to stop buying games like this.
For
I
this
can
one,
just
at
stop
least.
selling games in that way and succeed in spite of that. So are sequels bad? No, but if you're making episodic content, it's not good for the game a lot of the times. I'll give you an
Life is
example.
strange.
Let's say that your base game is $10 and you release a DLC for $5, and then you release a DLC for $5, and you release a DLC for $5. As a player, you bought it for $10, and a new DLC comes out 3 months later. It's only $5, so you buy it, and then another one 3 months later. Well, it's only $5, so you bought it, and then another one 3 months later. It's only $5, so you buy it, right? You just keep doing this.
Wow.
Now let's say that you tell your friend, "Hey man,
That's so much
this game
money.
is
That's
really good."
$25.
And your friend's like, "Oh, how much was it?" And you're like, "Oh, it's $10." And your friend goes to look at it and he goes, "That's not $10." Now you get a $25 game. So new players are de-incentivized from jumping in.
But here's the thing, I wouldn't mind. So that's more on them. That's more on the person, to be honest. Like, yeah, sure, original game is $10, and that's what you should say. You should say the original game is $10. You shouldn't be like the whole game is $10. No, that's just being dishonest. But for me, I can see why people would complain about this. It makes a lot of sense. The problem, though, is what if the DLC stuff is actually worth $5? Like, the value of the DLC pack going into that game is like $5 or more. Like, what if it's worth more than $5, huh? How about then?
But old players feel like they got good value, and they didn't pay that much, except they're both paying the same amount. It's a marketing strategy that preys on your inability to do math, or inability to do...
Actually, it's more of your inability to only get one part of the game and see if you like it before you spend more. That's what I think. Because so many people just want to be like, well, this is out with it, so I should probably just get the whole thing because I'm probably going to like this game. No, you don't do that. The best bet is to just get the cheapest one and then progress more and more for each like expansion or DLC. Like, sure, it'll be cheaper right then and there, but it's also cheaper to just not buy it and then wait a bit, because guess what? Most of the time, if not all the time, the prices for DLC and stuff goes on sale. Like, maybe, like, if you're a content creator and stuff and you need to get it out right away, this sucks. But if you're just like a consumer that just plays every now and then, or just like plays and then is willing to do something else while waiting, then yeah, just use my strat of buy it piece by piece. Don't try to get the whole thing at once. What's wrong with you, foo? I mean, there is one problem. Let's say it's like WoW or something, right? Everyone has the latest content. You're going to want to get the latest content, supposedly. But also, my strat still works for the fact that there's going to be other players just like you that's going to be like, oh, it's on sale. Let's go ahead and get this one. It's the one I need next, anyways. So you're going to be playing with those people too. So, I don't know. It's a personal preference, and I think my way is better. Yep. Hot take? Probably not. Feels like one, though.
To assign value over time. That's the issue. So, like, not a fan of it. Really not a fan of it. If I'm going to release new content for Heartbound, I'm just going to patch it into the game. Like I always have. No reason not to. What are your thoughts on expansions then for games? I only like expansions for live service games a lot of the times. Like, I really only like expansions for live service games. I don't like expansions a lot of the time outside of that. I think they're kind of gross. Like, if you're doing a single player game, the only time I'd say an expansion makes sense is like if you're adding another campaign to it. Live service game does make sense for expansions.
Yeah,
because
for instance, like The Witcher, right? The Witcher 3. Those ones have expansions. Like, I don't remember what one of them is called. The other one's called like Wine and Blood or something. That one was really, really good as an expansion. Like, I think that was the name. But it just felt like a whole nother game of like an alternate reality. Same gameplay, kind of. It's just like a whole new story kind of thing. I thought that was pretty cool, and it was definitely worth the price. When they do stuff like that, it's good in single player.
Being kind of a good deal. But yeah, it's pretty rare that single player games get expansions that make sense. It's pretty rare. What about the infamous Oblivion Horse Armor DLC? I think it's ass. Like, obviously. Not a fan of that. Risk of Rain? Risk of Rain wasn't an expansion. That was a totally new game. We had Risk of Rain to Risk of Rain 2. It's a completely different video game. That's fine.
True.
What about Vampire Survivors? I actually don't like Vampire Survivors.
I actually don't like that
the fact
game.
That they went
I
from
played it, but I didn't
$3
like it.
game and then sold millions of copies and then made it $5. Like, why? Why did they do that? There's no reason for that shit. Makes no sense. Bro gets mad from $2 game to $5 game? Yeah. Do you know why? Because there's no reason for that. If you have a $3 game and it sells millions of copies, and then you change that price to $5, you have a small team that has more money than they'll ever need, and you've changed the price to $5 after it becomes
Let's just
popular.
go by percentage. $70 to $100.
And I made it $12 after
same
it
fraction,
became
pretty
popular.
much.
Would you feel good about that? You'd hate it. Just like I do. It's like,
Still
'cause
sucks.
There's no reason for
Still
it.
sucks.
The only time that we ever have to change prices is when there's dramatic shifts in the valuation of individual currencies. Currency exchange rates is the only time we have to raise prices, because sometimes currency exchange rates go crazy, which is exactly what happened with Argentina, right? Like, that sucks.
I wonder
There's
what
nothing
happened
we
to
can
them.
do about it at that point.
Someone let me
Like,
know.
Suddenly, like, a currency just inflates to and is not worth anything anymore. Like, we have to take action. There's nothing we can do about it. That's the only time that I think that's appropriate. That's the only time, and it's a global finance issue. Yeah, global finances go wacky. Bingo. Price your game in line with the gold standard? No, that's not really how that works. The way that you have to price your game, no matter what, man, is based on people's expendable income. You're making an entertainment piece. That's what that is. It's an entertainment piece. People don't need to buy your game. They don't have to. So you have to price it based on people's expendable income inside of that area. Disposable income. Is
That
what
would be
you're
a creepy time
What
to
about
live in
board
if you
member
had to
bonuses?
buy it.
Gross. Yeah, it's gross. No, you don't have to buy it. I price ours based on a Big Mac. It's about a Big Mac and a half. Yeah. You want people to buy, what is this? You want people to buy your product? Make it affordable. Bingo. Yes. Make it affordable for each region, too. Always make it affordable for each region. You have to think about what the economics are.
Yeah,
of each
region
that you're
costs.
selling the game in. And you have to think about specifically how much disposable income people in that region.
I would say, like, the region cost is very important. The biggest problem is a lot of people just don't care, or like a lot of places just don't care, and it's so bothersome. Like, I can see why people don't sell games in certain regions too. Maybe they're keeping it that way, not just for political reasons, but also like money issues, and they know that people can't afford it. I don't know too much about that because most of the time, whenever I hear about it, it's more of like politics, and I don't care about I don't want to hear about politics Ba-dum-bum. All right, continue.
Region have? Yeah, regional pricing. Always regional pricing. Always. And then you price it appropriately based on that. It's very easy. It just takes a little bit of effort, right? Are you in favor of microtransactions in the game if the
Also
game is
Rem.
free? I'm in
In
favor
politics.
of microtransactions if they are cosmetic in nature and nothing else. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for anything else. Cosmetics only. How do you make the art for your game? Shay makes all the art and animation for Harbin. I do the technical art, which is particle effects, shadows, lighting, stuff like that. Sony priced Helldivers to 0 in some reason? No, they didn't price Helldivers to 0 in some regions. They made it unpurchasable in some regions. Those are two
Yeah, that's a
very
big
different
difference.
things. Yeah. No, 0 would be free. Lol, same thing? No, 0 would be free.
That means you get the
What
game
they
still.
did was they took a selling video game and instead applied a 5-finger discount to everybody who wanted to go the extra mile. It's probably the greatest advertisement to piracy I've ever seen in my life. Insane to watch.
Free is free. Someone in the comment. Someone was like, free is
Bendable
free.
income inside of that area.
That was funny. Oh, I don't think I'll be able to find that comment again, but that was a thing. I don't know. What do you guys think about the whole situation about the games being overpriced? Personally, he brings up good points, and it's definitely different from mine. We don't really go against each other either. It's more like we see the other parts of it, and we both agree to like when it's not worth it. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this? I want to know. Leave it down in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.